This symbol can be seen in the swastika of the Third Reich. The cross is seen on this Messerschmitt. The Knight's Cross is a variation of this symbol, which is thousands of years old. We do not know where the Germans of the Third Reich got their ideas. This drawing of ancient Babylon displays the concept of an invincible power from the heavens. Victor Schauberger was one of the leading scientists in the very intense push for a new and clean energy. Simplified, it could be called implosion instead of explosion. There was a group within the Third Reich who were searching for constructive solutions, not destructive ones. In these diagrams you can see a new type of vehicle was being planned. The normal combustion engines using fossil fuels in our cars are dependent on the explosion principle and hence tend to be destructive to the environment. Victor Schauberger's experimental vehicles were based on esoteric principles and focused his research on electrogravitation. In other words, regarding gravity as an electrical force which can be utilized for propulsion. The U-13 Department of the SS concentrated their efforts on this technique. This was the means by which the Honeyboo flying saucer was powered. Here you can see the construction plans of the WW2. The computer graphic enhancement shows something of the look of these Honeyboo saucers. The engine is very likely to have been designed by Captain Hans Kohler and built by the German AEG company in 1944. The engine being called the Kohler converter. This engine was designed so that it needed a relatively small amount of energy to activate it. This energy coming from an accumulator or battery. After a short time, the Kohler converter built up sufficient energy transformed from the gravitational field of the Earth. This is a diagram of the Kohler converter. And this is a photograph of the actual converter, operating on a principle of genius simplicity. This is a preliminary sketch of the WW2. The cockpit here is outlined in red. with a circular driving unit beneath, outlined in purple. With adjacent space for people or soldiers. This machine was built somewhat like a modern ship, designed to be self-sufficient for long periods of time, with sleeping space and working area. Looking a bit like the brim of a hat, the saucer part of this machine is the means by which it is steered. This being achieved by emitting an electrically generated force in the chosen direction. There were a number of other spherical and saucer-shaped prototypes also built at this time, but using conventional rocket power. Under the code V7, a number of military prototypes were developed. These were concurrent with the V1 and V2 rocket developments. The Schreiber-Habimol flying machine was a jet-propelled vertical takeoff and landing craft developed in 1942. The first 3 prototypes were badly damaged when tested, and the project was abandoned. Dr. Richard Miti, in cooperation with the Italian researcher Dr. Giuseppe Belluzza, also worked on a flying machine which was round in shape, and developed a new V7 prototype. Here are 2 photographs of the V7, Hitler's new wonder weapon. On the 7th of April 1944, Miti showed construction plans to Hitler and demonstrated the vehicle in flight. In this photograph, Hitler is standing next to a model of the new prototype. This V7 saucer was built with 12 BMW engines of the type 028. The V7 rose to 20,000 metres on the first test and 24,000 metres on the second test. Helium was the fuel used in this machine. Here is a plan of the V7. After this, a new smaller type called Vril was developed. Here you can see a sketch of the Vril, and here's a photograph of the test flight. Work on these unconventional flying machines was a race with time, since conventional rockets were also being developed, and it was a matter of competing for resources, materials and manpower to build them. These are some of the rockets being developed at this time. Every nation involved in the Second World War were developing new weapons, but the real wonder weapons were not associated with fire and noise, but were being developed and propelled quietly and secretly.